ready for a deep dive into the psychology of money.
Absolutely. Always up for exploring that.
We're going to be unpacking Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. You know that one.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Like,
Looking forward to seeing what you've pulled from it.
definitely a lot to unpack, that's for sure. And just a quick heads up for everyone listening, we're all about exploring ideas here, but I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that.
Right. Got to make sure everyone knows this is for informational purposes.
Exactly. So take it as food for thought, but talk to a professional for any personalized advice. But hey, if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Helps others find these conversations too.
Definitely. The more, the merrier, right?
Now, let's get into it. Imagine this. You've got two people. One's a Harvard hotshot, living the dream. The other, a gas station attendant turned part-time janitor.
Okay. Quite a contrast there.
Who do you think died with an $8 million net worth?
Instinctively, I'd say the Harvard grad, but I have a feeling that's not the twist you're going for.
You got it. It was the janitor.
Wow. Okay, you definitely have my attention.
This story, it's right there in the book, and it just shows us how understanding your own mind is as crucial as any financial spreadsheet.
It really highlights how financial success isn't always about what we think it is. It's not always about those fancy degrees or even big salaries.
So what does make the difference? What can we learn from this, let's call him an unlikely millionaire janitor?
Well, Housel's book really emphasizes how our relationship with money is deeply personal.
Okay, I can see that. Like everyone's got their own money story.
Exactly. It's all shaped by our past experiences, how we were raised, even our personalities. It all factors into how we deal with money. Someone who lived through, say, the Great Recession might approach investing completely differently than someone who came of age during a booming market.
Right. It's like if your family really struggled during a recession, you might be more inclined to hoard every penny, even if you're doing well now.
Exactly. And neither approach is inherently right or wrong,
It's just about recognizing how those experiences influence our decisions, even when we aren't aware of it. Like we have these hidden scripts playing out in our financial lives.
Absolutely. And sometimes those scripts can hold us back. Housel talks about the power of enough. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, once I have this much, then I'll be happy,
Oh, absolutely. All the time. Once I get that promotion, once I buy that house,
Yeah.
it never ends, does it?
That's just it. We often end up chasing those moving goalposts. We reach one goal and boom, we've already set a new, even bigger one. And we risk what we need for what we don't, often fueled by comparing ourselves to others, a comparison we can never truly win.
It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle.
Yeah.
So how do we break free? How do we figure out what enough means for ourselves in a way that brings genuine contentment, not just another thing to check off the list?
This is where it gets interesting. Housel suggests that true wealth isn't about how much you've accumulated, but about aligning your money with what you truly need and want.
So it's not about keeping up with the Joneses or some external measure of success.
Right. He emphasizes that one of the most valuable things money can buy is control over your time and choices. That freedom to pursue what you love, spend time with loved ones, or just enjoy life without being chained to a job you hate.
Love that aligning your money with your life.
Yeah.
It makes you stop and think, what do I truly value? What do I want my life to look like?
Exactly. Using money as a tool to build a life that's rich in meaning and purpose, not just stuff.
Now let's talk about getting rich, everyone's favorite topic.
Always a popular one.
Just kidding. But seriously, Housel makes a really interesting distinction between getting rich and staying rich.
Yeah, it's not about those get-rich-quick schemes, is it?
Definitely not what this book is about.
What I find interesting is that getting rich and staying rich actually often need different skills.
Okay, yeah, break that down for me.
So think about it this way. To get rich, that might mean taking some risks,
Great.
being optimistic, putting yourself out there.
Okay.
Maybe you're starting a business, maybe you're investing in a friend's venture, but keeping that wealth,
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
that demands a whole other set of skills.
So what's the key to staying wealthy then?
I think Housel really nails it when he talks about humility.
Okay, interesting.
Acknowledging that, maybe luck played a role in your success and being prepared for things to go wrong even when you've planned everything meticulously.
So having a backup plan, even a backup to the backup plan.
Exactly. It's about anticipating that the unexpected might happen and being ready for it.
So like that whole idea of an emergency fund, but on a bigger scale, like for your entire financial life.
Precisely. Housel actually calls it being financially unbreakable,
I like that.
building that resilience into how you handle your finances.
Makes sense.
So that when things inevitably hit the fan, market downturns, unexpected expenses, you're not totally wiped out.
Right. You can weather the storm.
You weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side.
We also talked about luck and risk,
Yeah.
right? And how we often underestimate that whole side of things.
Absolutely. We tend to look at those who've made it big and assume they're financial geniuses or something.
Yeah, you just think, oh, they must have some secret sauce.
But maybe they just got lucky with a couple of decisions, right?
Or maybe those risks they took just happened to pay off big time.
Exactly. But those same risks could have backfired spectacularly.
It's like sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as they say.
Right. Housel reminds us that a lot of success comes down to factors we can't control, and I think understanding that helps us make more level-headed decisions.
It's about having a realistic perspective on both skill and chance.
Absolutely. Not getting too caught up in our wins or beating ourselves up over the losses.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make smart moves,
Yeah.
but recognizing that element of chance is important.
He actually illustrates this point with a story about Heinz Berggren, who was a super successful art dealer.
Okay, I don't know him.
He had this amazing art collection, but not because he had some magical ability to pick winners every single time.
So he wasn't predicting which artists were going to blow up.
Nope. His strategy was actually quite simple. He bought a lot of art.
Okay, you're right.
Inevitably, some pieces skyrocketed in value, while others, well, not so much.
That makes sense.
His success stemmed from playing the long game, being in the game long enough that a few big wins overshadowed those inevitable losses.
So it's like diversifying your risk, not putting all your eggs in one basket, but with art.
Precisely, and this applies to investing as well. Even Warren Buffett, arguably one of the most successful investors out there.
Yeah, he seems to know a thing or two about investing.
Even he's made his share of mistakes.
Really, I feel a bit better about my own track record now.
It's true. What sets him apart is his long-term strategy. He understands the power of compounding, letting those investments grow over time.
So slow and steady wins the race.
It's more like a marathon than a sprint. You need that discipline to stay the course, even when things get bumpy.
Which kind of ties into another point Housel makes about being rational versus being reasonable with your money.
Yeah, aren't those the same thing?
That's what I thought. But apparently there's a difference.
He argues that being purely rational with your finances can actually lead to burnout.
What do you mean?
Think about it, constantly analyzing spreadsheets, obsessing over every single penny. It can be exhausting.
Yeah, I can see that.
And for most of us, it's just not sustainable long term.
So what's the alternative? Just throw caution to the wind and hope for the best.
Not exactly. It's about finding that balance, having a plan, but also being flexible, taking calculated risks,
Okay.
but still prioritizing that margin of safety, and maybe most importantly, not letting your emotions run wild.
So basically finding an approach to money that doesn't make us miserable.
Exactly, something you can actually stick with for the long haul.
Because what's the point of having all the money in the world if you're too stressed to enjoy it?
Right. Housel talks about aligning your financial decisions with your personality and your life.
Oh, that makes sense.
He gives an example of a friend who made a killing trading short-term options.
Oh, wow, risky.
Very. But if your goal is long-term financial security, that kind of high-risk, high-stress strategy probably isn't the best fit.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly like choosing a diet or an exercise plan. What works wonders for one person might be a disaster for someone else.
So finding your own financial identity.
Exactly. What are your values, your goals, your risk tolerance?
So we've talked about tuning out the noise, but I mean, easier said than done, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
The financial world is like a constant barrage of conflicting advice, scary headlines, doom and gloom predictions everywhere.
It's overwhelming.
How do we cut through all of that and make smart decisions without losing our minds?
Well, this is where Housel's insights on pessimism really hit home.
Okay. What does he say about pessimism?
He argues that we often confuse pessimism with intelligence, especially when it comes to money matters.
Oh, I know what you mean. It's like being cynical about the market somehow makes you seem smarter.
Right. It's a common thing, isn't it?
Like if you're not freaking out about the next crash, you're naive or something.
Exactly, and Housel challenges that whole idea.
So what's the problem with this whole doom and gloom perspective?
It can really hold us back, make us miss out on opportunities.
How so?
We might be too afraid to invest, or we panic and sell everything at the worst possible time, convinced it's all going to crash.
So a little bit of optimism might actually be good for our portfolios.
Housel argues that it's not about burying your head in the sand and ignoring risks, but about having a more balanced outlook.
Okay, so hope for the best, but plan for the worst.
Exactly. True optimism, he says, is about being prepared if things go south, but being pleasantly surprised when they don't.
And I guess part of that is taking the long view.
Absolutely, because over time, the economy tends to grow, businesses innovate, the stock market generally goes up.
It's about trusting those long-term trends, even when there are bumps along the way.
Precisely.
Mhm.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful takeaways from the psychology of money, in my opinion.
Okay, let's hear it.
The idea that personal finance is ultimately about people.
What do you mean by that?
It's about our relationships, our values, our hopes for the future.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
A successful financial life isn't just about stacking up the most money.
Right, it's about what that money allows you to do.
Exactly. It's about aligning your finances with the kind of life you want to live, the relationships you cherish, the impact you want to make.
It's about more than just dollars and cents. It's about what those numbers allow us to do to experience.
Precisely. And as we wrap up here, I think the biggest takeaway from Housel's book is that it's not about finding some magic formula or timing the market perfectly.
No get-rich-quick schemes here.
It's definitely not. It's about understanding yourself, your relationship with money, your own personal definition of enough.
And then using those insights to craft a financial life that truly aligns with your values.
Exactly, one that brings you a sense of fulfillment and well-being, not just a bigger bank account.
It's about finding that sweet spot where financial well-being and a life well-lived intersect. And that's a journey worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely a journey worth taking.